Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Drama Surgery podcast. In this episode, I am going to be doing a review slash rant about 4 minutes, which is a Thai BL drama that is currently airing as of the time of this recording. I covered this drama when it first aired, like the first two episodes maybe, in a different episode. So you can go back, scroll down like all my episodes. It's not far down. Listen to that first and then come back and then listen to this. And so yeah, I decided to cover this drama again because I have a few things I need to get off my chest. Normally I would not do this, but I am seeing so much hate for one of the characters online and I feel like I have to come on here and defend him. So the character I'm talking about is Korn. Korn is Great's brother. Great is our main character, our protagonist and everything. And I think because of that, like main character halo that Great has, people are confusing him for a good character or an interesting character, and people are just hating on Korn because I guess they expect him to be the villain. And that's kind of annoying because I feel like his character is so much more in depth than that. And it's like when the hate is too much, it makes you want to defend someone, because I assume like everybody was like me, that like they kind of understood that Korn was like a more interesting, more like grounded, more well-written character. But I saw the comments and I'm realizing that like people don't see that, people don't understand this character. So I'm here to get people to understand this character. But before I get into that, just some noteworthy things about 4 minutes. Again, for those who don't know, the character Grade is a character that comes from a wealthy family and everything. And suddenly, just one day he wakes up and he's able to see 4 minutes into the future. Currently, at the time of this recording, 5 of the 8 episodes has aired, so like we're halfway through the drama already, right? And just some noteworthy things I want to mention on that note, because it's very interesting to me that Great is considered like the main character, but I would say that technically Tonkla is the main character. And just a quick reminder, Tonkla being the boyfriend of Korn being Great's brother, right? So if like Great is the main character, Tonkla is like should be like the third most important character. But the way the drama has gone on up to this point, it feels like Tonkla is the main character. And I would say that he is tied more to the story than any other character, I would say, right? He's more tied to like the important moving parts, right? Like it's his brother, I feel like that was like murdered, and it's that like spurs the whole investigation and all that thing. So I feel like his character is actually very central to this, more so than Great. And so that's interesting to me, I guess, that they went that route. But I'm not complaining. I don't have anything against it because honestly I am not a fan of Great. I hate to say this, but I am a Great hater. Like I am a Korn apologist and a Great hater. Well, I shouldn't say I'm a hater, but that's like his character is just not compelling to me for a bunch of reasons. And so this is where I go into like the differences between Korn and Great, and why I think that it's kind of unfair that people are hating on Korn, because I feel like he's the better written character. He's the one that's more nuanced in this story. And I feel like people don't see that, and it's very sad that they don't. One of the issues I have with Great, and this might just be because they don't like show us more of his backstory, is that from the very beginning, from the very get-go, he seems to be living a good life, but like he's very rude. He has an attitude problem to the people that like allowed him to have that good life, right? Allow him to be able to like drive a sports car, right? He's rude to them, right? He has an attitude problem with his dad and his mom, and this is like given the fact that like we know for sure that like his parents are trash, especially his dad. Like his dad is dealing in gambling and illegal stuff. We know that. Great doesn't know that. So the basis of why Great acts the way he does is because his parents are just like absentee parents. Like his parents work too hard and they don't like spend time with him, right? And that is why he behaves the way he does. And I have an issue with that because it doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going to be like that, like, don't like spend their money, don't like live in the apartment they give you and everything. Like, it's very like hypocritical for him to like have this attitude and like still like use their money and all that thing. So that's my first issue with Great. The other issue I have with Great comes up when he figures out like it's the doctor that was like threatening his like brother, right? My reaction when you find something out like that is that like you tell your brother that like, oh, it's this guy at this hospital that is, had a knife to your neck and everything, right? But instead, our lovely character Great decides that he is going to help someone that is only known for like a week over his own family. This is very unrealistic in the sense that like his brother is not even like a bad brother. Like, his brother genuinely loves him, right? Genuinely like wishes the best for him, right? But he's willing to abandon his family, again, given the fact that like he's coming into this blind. All the things he's learning it from this doctor. He's letting this doctor convince him of these things, and it's not like the doctor is wrong in any way. It's just odd to me from the perspective of Great, right, that doesn't know anything. If I was him, it makes no sense how I would like believe someone else's word over like my siblings or like my parents. I mean, I get the parents want to an extent, like his dad is his dad, but like his brother, there's no reason why he would have believed or like done that, especially knowing that his brother could get in trouble. Or maybe he didn't know that his brother would get in trouble, but it's just odd to me that like because he likes a guy, he's willing to go this far for him, right? We tell girls the stories that like you don't like abandon friends, family for like a guy, right? That is basically what Great is doing. Like his family might go to jail because of like his actions, right? And it's odd again because, coming back to my first point, he uses all their money, he spends and everything. So like he's in this thing, benefiting from all this like illegal money, and then he comes around and like acts like he's some self-righteous. Like I really dislike that. So that's the second thing that really pisses me off. And it's not that like Great is necessarily badly written. I feel that like the writer has just made him or written him in a way that makes him unrelatable to me. If I was being realistic, like I feel like Great is idealistic, but not really either, because like if you remember the hit and run moment where like he's speeding in the tunnel and he hits that lady, of course, yeah, the lady like ran in front of him and all that, but again, to an extent, I feel like he doesn't know that when he hits that lady and then goes back in his car and then like tries to run away, basically do a hit and run, right? Like every like rich person, like that moment was like, I think the moment I was like, I feel like I might not vibe with this character, because like his scale of morality shifts depending on the situation, right? And so that moment where he like gets back in the car, and I know like it's possible he panics and just like, but the fact that was like his first thought speaks volume to his character. Again, I would not have had an issue if they had continued on that like path of that, like he's kind of growing that way, but then they have moments where they then like make him seem so righteous that like it like makes no sense to me, because I feel like his character isn't really like that. Like his character is kind of like hypocritical, pretending, like just pretentious in that way, right? Like his character is like actually a terrible person, but like can't admit he's a terrible person. So basically someone that's just self-righteous, right? In a way, I feel like he's a lot like his dad, but he just pretends not to be, right? And so that's my biggest issue with Great, right? And so even though he's the main character, I struggle to like him, right, as a character, because it just seems like he's moping around and woe is me, but like your daddy has like millions of like dollars, right? So that's like my issue with his character as opposed to his brother. And this is where I become like the Korn apologist, because I feel like I am juxtaposing Korn a lot with Great. Like I am comparing those two characters a lot, and it's seeming to me that Korn is the one that's like more relatable even though he's technically the one that is doing worse things, he just seems more nuanced regardless. From the very beginning, like one of the very first scenes we see with Korn, if not the first scene, in episode 1 is Korn like going into the office and talking to his dad, right? And in that scene, you can tell very clearly that Korn dislikes his dad's second wife, right? And like this is something that you just see he's uncomfortable. He dismisses her in a way, even though she's like trying to like seem like, oh, she's like caring for him and all that thing. You can tell that like she's conniving. She's trying to like get some position at the company, and like she's trying to push Korn to do the illegal business. She's like probably the one that even suggested it or something like that, right? So it's very clear that like Korn dislikes this woman. Now, when I saw that scene, I immediately like basically wrote the whole plot in my head of what the plot would be like. So if Korn hates his dad's second wife, that means he and like Great probably don't get along. That was like my initial like thought, right, when I saw his reaction to the stepmom. But like seeing him love his brother that much, despite the fact that he hates his stepmom, makes him very interesting. Like he makes him nuanced. He makes him like, okay, he's able to compartmentalize and like put his stepmom in a separate box from his baby brother. And I feel like that is something that makes him just, I don't know, it makes me like him a lot, because it's very clear that like he loves his brother very much. Not even like a little bit. Like he loves his brother very, very much, right? His brother is like easily one of the most important people to him, right? He even says it at one point when like Great actually finds out about the whole thing, and he's like rescued Nan or whatever that girl's name is with the doctor, right? Korn mentions that it's okay if like Great wants nothing to do with like this business, right? That he will do it. He's willing to do all the bad things, right? Even though he clearly doesn't agree with all the things that like his dad is doing, but like he says he will do it so his brother doesn't have to, right? And again, like that scene was just like so powerful to me. Like it was the scene that really showed me what his character was like. A character that like has no choice but to do things he doesn't want to do sometimes, right? Because like clearly once he goes and he sees this business that his dad is doing, you can see it in his face in those scenes where like he lands there and he's just watching these people like do this thing that clearly illegal, like illegal gambling, all that like terrible thing. He's so uncomfortable by it. He like his face, it shows that like he doesn't want to be here, right? And so it's very clear that he's doing this reluctantly, and he's okay with this. He's okay doing this. His brother doesn't have to. And when he says that, it actually really pissed me off, because Great like just dismissed that, and I was like, what? Like this is somebody that like was your dad's mistress for a bunch of years, right? When they were younger. Like Great mentions this, right? That was just him and his mom, right? And once I guess the first wife dies or whatever, like they bring him in and everything. So like for all intents and purposes, like Korn should dislike Great, right? But he doesn't, right? There's also that scene that I really like where like when Great first starts to have this 4-minute thing, he's clearly so distraught that at some point he grabs Korn and checks his watch, right? And in that scene, it's clear that he's distraught, and Korn sees this and like comes back and sits with Great. Like that is so sweet, that is so loving, and like I just love that, and I just love his character so much. He's so well written in that way. And you know, when people talk about him being like a terrible person just because he's cheating on Tonkla, I hate that, because I feel like you're putting him in a box, and his character is more complicated than that. Korn is the kind of person that I feel like he understands that he needs to ensure that his family does not get implicated, even though like they are doing something wrong. He's very loyal like that. Like, and I feel like that's realistic. Like not a lot of us are gonna like rat out our family members even if they are doing something wrong, right? Like we try and convince them, we try and change, but like we're not gonna like try and rat them out. That's just not realistic. That's not what people would do. Like people would say they would, but they wouldn't. Like that's just not you know. And so like I feel like Korn is that kind of person that like, yeah, he doesn't want to do this, but like he doesn't have a choice. Like their family business is tied so intricately with this that like when Great does what he does, I don't know what Great thought the outcome would be. Like his dad would go to jail. His mom also knew about this, so she's like an aider, abettor, and she would also go to jail. And Great is basically like throwing away his family um for the doctor that he's only known for a few like days, which is just so unrealistic, right? And as another thing to con in that, like, another reason why he's trying to like take over the business and everything is because he really wants to be with Tonkla. So episode 5 has a moment where they like show you the backstory. And you actually realize that like Tonkla and Korn, like, they had an intersection in college, so they aren't that far apart, at best maybe 4 years, right? And Korn really liked him. Korn promised that like once he takes over the business, he'll have the power, and then he'll be able to come out with him and tell his parents the truth and all that thing, right? Because the idea is that he will have the power in his hands, and like he's not going to get kicked out. He's not going to have to like let that go, right? He's realizing that it's not as easy as he expected it to be. It's a lot harder, especially with the illegal business that is, going on, and things are going astray, right? Things are falling apart, right? And he's getting more and more tied into this world that he doesn't want, right? But that does not mean he never like liked Tonkla. He never like loved him. I believe like strongly that like he really, really loves Tonkla, right? And even though from Tonkla's point of view, of course, it seems that like Korn is just using him, and to an extent, he's not wrong. I still think that he has like genuine affections for Tonkla, and he's like his pick. That's actually who he wants, right? So even though like he has a fiance and everything, I feel like and this is where the apologist in me comes in. I feel like I can forgive him because it's very clear to everybody that like he prefers Tonkla, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like the arrangement, and this is like how I see this world that they are in, I feel like they're all realistic in the sense that they understand the arrangement, right? So like, for sure, his fiance knows about like Tonkla, and I feel like Tonkla also knows about the fiance, right? I feel like they all know about one another, right? And they're just like live and let live, like you do your own, I do my own, and everything. It doesn't mean that like, of course, the fiance is okay with it. Like, as she tells like Korn that like she wants him all to herself, and he should like break up with Tonkla, and you see Korn like just like swallowing his pain, because he like the bigger picture, right? Like at this point he has to like even save his family, even though like they're terrible people, and like he should leave them all, but he does that. And that moment was just I loved it so much, because like it showed that feeling that I feel like we weren't sure till we saw that scene that like he liked Tonkla, and also till we saw like the university scenes. And I have to say, I am one of those people that like I think I want them to be endgame. Tonkla and Korn have my heart. I love them so much, and I feel like their relationship is more interesting because of all the journeys they've had, as opposed to like Tonkla and Win, and like Korn and his fiance, right? Because like they've gone through a lot, and there's like history, and they've built something, and I feel that like it's just like a lack of communication that is like messing up. And also like, again, Korn is actually like stressed out, like he's like actually like doing too much, right? And it's like taking a toll on him, right? And honestly, like Tonka could have like texted him that that's what happened. Like he just called him and like, yeah, I know, Korn snapped at him and that made him feel terrible and everything. But like you can text that like something actually happened to my brother and everything, and like Korn will know. But like he didn't say anything. He just like after that one call, he just gave up and started sleeping with like Win. And I don't see that chemistry with Win. Win came out of nowhere. I feel like Win just likes him. I feel like it's just convenient, right? Win's character is convenient in that sense of just like giving Tonkla someone else, as opposed to Korn. I feel like there is more nuance, because again, the way that like the story is written, and this is also like my take with like when people call Vegas a red flag. I know everybody like agrees it's an agreement that Vegas is a red flag, but like if you've like listened to my episode review of Kim Porsche, you know that like I situate Vegas in the world he's in, and then look at him from that perspective, right? So Vegas is in this world of mafias, right? Like it's his job to like take the enemy and torture the enemy and all that thing, right? So Vegas is not a red flag in terms of that, like that is what he needs to do. He's just doing what he needs to do. Everybody's a red flag in that sense, right? And actually once he falls in love with Pete, he changes completely, and like he's very sweet to him, right? So Vegas actually is not a red flag if you look at the context of the world they are working in, right? He doesn't love repeat at that beginning when he's doing all the terrible things he's doing, right? It's actually because this is his enemy, this is someone that came to spy on them, that's why he's doing all the things he's doing, right? So Vegas is not a red flag in that way, right? As opposed to like say Ming from My Stand In, right? Another type deal. Where like the world he's in does not allow for him to like behave that way because that is actually unhinged, right? And so in this case too, I feel like Korn lives in like this world where like arranged marriages and things like that are the norm, right? And to an extent, I feel like that's why I don't see him as much of a red flag, even though he cheats. I feel that like it's not a character issue as opposed to like this is something he needs to do to like further his like goals, right? You know, like you can cheat just because like you're a terrible person, you can't control yourself and everything. But in this case, I feel like he does it because of the benefits he will get from it, right? And so that's what makes him like different in that sense, right? That like if he had to choose, he would choose Tonkla every time, but because there's more to it, right? That's why he chooses like his fiance, right? And I mean, just like also, Tonkla is not like this innocent child. Let's just put that out there, right? That like Tonkla is not this good kid. You see him like bashing someone's head in like one of the episodes like intro, right? So he's also like great, and like so it's like one great character with another great character, and when you bring them together, like they even out or like they balance each other out because they are both like not morally upright anyways. Right? As opposed to like Ming and Joe in My Standing. Joe is like a good person, right? And like Ming is actually a terrible person, and so they do not balance each other out. And like even though I'm also a Ming apologist, like it's very clear that Ming is toxic, right? So I think that's important, right? When you're like looking at characters and what makes a character a red flag or a character a terrible person, I feel like you got to look at it from like context of like that world, right? They are on similar levels, I feel like, and it's a shame because I feel like if Korn had talked to Tonkla and just be honest about what's going on and not just hold it in the way he does everything, I feel that like Tonkla could have been helpful in some ways. I don't know how, but like Tonkla would have gotten it a lot more than Korn assumes he would. Because I feel like to an extent, Korn thinks that like Tonkla is just like somebody he has to protect, and that's not like factual. I feel like Tonkla is also like low key a psycho, right? So I feel that like that's like a shame that they just did not communicate to that point. And Korn feels that he has to like shoulder everything because he does this even with Great. Like Great will ask him what's wrong, and Korn will just not say anything. And so I feel that like his character is actually just very, very interesting and deserves more love and like just understanding because he's trying his best. And I feel that like I have to like recognize that, and I see that and I relate to that to an extent. And it's a shame because I feel like his character is going to end up, it's going to be bad for him, right? I hope not, but you know, I sense that that's where they're going to go with that. But yeah, I actually like his character and I think people should give him a chance. That's basically what this episode is about. I need people to give him a chance and see that he's actually not that bad of a person, as opposed to his like brother and like everybody else around. I feel like everybody else is like an issue. He's actually the one that's like working with like common sense to an extent, or like just like realistic actions. Like Tonka is over here like murdering someone, right? Grady is helping somebody he's not known for like more than a week. His parents are like his dad is like, you know, doing illegal stuff, and his stepmom is, you know, a gold digger that's like also insufferable. So like I feel like everybody is problematic. The only people that are not problematic to me is like Korn to an extent, having to deal with all these kinds of like balls thrown at him. Win the cop, even though I feel like the cop is weird too because he's sleeping with like a family member of a victim. That has to be like some kind of like HIPAA violation, kind of like adjacent thing. Like you can't just do that, right? Like, so there's also that, and then maybe the doctor's like colleague is like the only other person that's like okay-ish in this whole thing. So yeah, everybody is kind of unhinged in some ways, and I love it actually. This is actually very entertaining for me. So yeah, That's all I have to say about this, like, characters, about 4 minutes for now. I am looking forward to what will happen. It seems that it has come out that, like, most likely what grade is seen is actually because he's actually in a coma, or was in a coma for like a few like minutes, and so that's why he had this whole thing. So I think he's working in a different timeline from like reality. Also we'll see next episode what like that looks like. And so yeah, I am actually very excited for the next episode. This is actually very fun to watch, very entertaining, and yeah, BOC does it again. They are very good at like giving you like good plots and good stories, and yeah, very very excited for the next episode. And that's all I have for this episode, really. If you're not watching this, I don't know why. You should, but yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you again next week. Have a good rest of the week. Bye.